Hey everyone, today we'll be creating a Minecraft RTX texture pack, or resource pack as also known. This will enable your worlds to have full ray tracing support on Bedrock Edition. We'll look at what are the requirements for ray tracing. We'll also look at the folder structure and files needed to create a resource pack. We'll also look at JSON formatting, actually designing your texture, creating the MER files and as a metallicness, emissiveness and roughness, and finally testing it on an actual world. Before we even get started, let's just look at the hard requirements because it doesn't run on everything. It recently came out and it's not currently available on every platform. Currently, it's available on the Nvidia RTX class 20 or later. So that's the Turing architecture and the current Amperic architecture. But what only interesting note is it actually runs on the latest AMD cards. Yes, the RX 6000. However, it does not have the upscaling support, so the frame rate can be a bit low. But if you do have that, give it a go. That'd be pretty cool. Other notes, it's not available on PS5 or Xbox Series X, but it is supposedly going to happen because they do support ray tracing hardware. I tested this, unfortunately, it does not work on VR. I have a Rift S headset and no go, it won't. It says on the website it doesn't support it. One of the first steps we need to do is actually find where your Minecraft's installed on your PC. It is in a rather odd spot, so in this case, I've just literally copied where the directory of it is. And I already have it prepared right here, in fact. As you can see, if you do want to find it, it's your user. In this case, my name is Chris, but you can use it's in app data, local packages, Minecraft UWP, and a bunch of random characters, local state games com.mojang. So yeah, it is in an awkward place to get to, not exactly somewhere you can easily remember. In here we have two resource pack name folders. We have resource packs and development resource packs. Now they are both going to work, but we're going to use development. And the reason for it is that with development is whenever you reload a world and if you update your texture, then reload a world, that texture will then be updated. If you just put it in the normal resource pack, it won't update. You will have to create a new world, then add the resource pack for it to load the new assets and updates. So that's the reason why. Now, we need to set up our own folder for our own resource pack. And in this case, we start with the manifest file. I've got Atom open here as my text editor, but you can use any other text editor you want. So that can be Notepad, Notepad++, brackets, or whatever Adobe software there is as well. Anything that lets you edit text files. Now, like with any JSON file, you start with curly braces, which are these. And if I can, there you go, like that. And that is how you start edit. But in this case, you can just copy this over. I'm going to have it. There's actually already in the Minecraft wiki, you actually have the format already prepared for you. But in this case, I'm just going to type it out. So the first thing first is you type in the format version, which is currently version 2, comma, the header, which is going to contain the information to the name description. So the first part of it is the description, in fact. In this case, I'm just going to call it RTX test pack is my continue the description. The name shall be anything. I'm going to call it RTX on just for this example. UID is like a unique key, and in order to get one, you can just simply generate one from this website. It gives you a random code, and as soon as you open it, it will be. So you just literally copy this, go to Atom or your text editor, put it, make sure it's speech marks because it's going to be considered a string, copy it over, and that's it. Make sure there's no spaces either because it will read the white spaces as it's known. The version of your texture resource pack is, in this case, we'll just put it as the lowest version it can be, which is 0001. The min_engine, if I can spell, engine version is the current game version, or the version of your resource packs that it'll run on the minimum of. So I'm just going to put it as the latest version, which is 1.16200, because this is the one I'm making it, so it only makes sense. And you don't actually put full stops, which as Minecraft denotes, it would be, so if you usually it would be referred to as this, but because it's reading it as a JSON and as an array or object in this case, I guess, is using commas. So that's how it's going to read it, is 1.16.200. That's the current version of Minecraft. And that's the minimum version it's going to run on. The modules once it contains some more information. In this time we use a square bracket, and within that we add another description. Now I'm just going to copy the description over from the top part. And next is the type. So in this case, we're making a resource, or resources as it's typed. Another UUID, make sure it's in speech marks. And again, we'll just generate a new one, not the same. So refresh page, copy that over, and speech marks, paste it in. Done. We also put the version in as well, which in this case is going to be, I'm going to put the same, but the lowest version. And that is almost it. But now we have the last most important part in our case is the ray tracing. So a section called capabilities. And type ray traced. That's all that goes in, and that's our JSON file done, manifest. So if we save it now and call it has to be called a manifest.json, and boom. So now we can actually in fact test this now, because it should in fact recognize it as a resource pack, and if we load it up it will have just the normal Minecraft, all the normal textures, but the ray trace lighting will be enabled. So let's give that a go. Just as a heads up, remember you make sure you copy your folder, your resource pack over, and to do that is make a new folder, call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it WIP for work in progress. In there I'm going to then copy over just the manifest file I've put in, like this. Now when I boot up Minecraft, which I'm just might as well try it out now, go full screen and give it some time to load. We should be able to go to settings and scroll down to our resource, and there it is. Here it is, RTX on. That's the exact thing. As you can see, it has this odd purple and black, not cube, I guess, and this is because we've not yet set a pack icon. So let's do that now, shall we? Set a pack icon, it's quite easy. It's simply a PNG or JPEG image from what I can tell, and needs to be 128 by 128 and needs to be named pack_icon. It can't be named anything else, it won't read it otherwise. And in this case, I have taken a random image and I've cropped it down to be 128 by 128. So now if I simply open up my resource pack, which I have here, and copy that pack icon, and again, just launch the game, see if it loads up. You should see the pack icon pop up. There we go, settings, flavor resources, my packs, and there you go, our pack icons now appeared. It's easy as that. Oh, we've got our manifest and we have our pack icon. Now we should be able to test it. Our world should become ray traced when we enable it. So it's simple as just simply creating a new world. And I'm just going to set it to creative, and I'm going to set it as a flat because it's easy to demonstrate. And here, enable resource pack. That's it. Create a new world. And there you go. Look, our world is now ray traced. You can tell from the sun, and if we add some blocks in, it will create a shadow. There you go. Now you're probably thinking, I can now play Minecraft Vanilla with ray tracing. Not really. If I set the time to midnight where it's nice and dark, and I get a nice bright block like glowstone, oh, it's not emitting any light. Yeah, blocks don't emit light. You actually have to set the blocks to emit light. They will not emit light by default, unfortunately. This includes other items such as campfires will not emit a light. Lava will not emit a light. Fires will also We'll also, if I can, just type boot seal. We'll also just simply not emit a light. The only thing that does emit a light is in fact torches. Torch. All these torches will in fact emit a light. And there you go. They are the only currently, they're the only items by default will have them. But I'll show you actually how you can in fact turn lava, campfire, and glowstone all emissive. In fact, thankfully, that can be actually seen in some of the example resource packs. Well, it's finally time to design your texture. You're going to need some design software. In this case, I'm using Affinity Designer, which is a one-time purchase piece of software, but you can use other free great software out there, such as GIMP, Inkscape, Piskel, which is a web browser one, so you don't even need to download any software, or you can go for the more traditional Adobe Illustrator, which is a subscription based. Because we're only doing simple pixel texturing on a 16 by 16 grid, you don't need any really fancy features, but they may help in some cases, but in this case, not really. Now you should have your texture done now, and I've just quickly whacked out a nice zigzag pattern. I've got some darker reds, I've got some slightly lighter reds, I've got some yellow, and I've got some a little bit orange. Kind of like dot this around to make it a little bit rough and grainy, kind of like redstone is. But you could have the block nice and flat, so I could easily get rid of these reds, make it all one flat color. Now the reason for that is because maybe I want it to look more shiny and polished. But in this case, I want to make it rough. Remember, we are going to do the next step is the metalness, emissiveness, and the roughness. So a rougher texture would obviously look something like this, while a more flat and shiny texture might look something that is, using one color for one area. So that's something to think about. Now, we need to actually export our file. Now, Minecraft supports three different type of file formats. One is a PNG, JPEG, and a TGA. Now, the main one would be PNG, sorry. This is what I'm going to use, but you will need to use a TGA for certain circumstances. An example of that is grass. Now, grass is in this case, it's a grayscale color. The reason for that is because the color is actually determined by the biome you're in. And with PNGs, it doesn't seem to work very well. It can just be flat red or won't show the texture at all, but a TJ, it will work. That's just a note if you are doing a grass texture. Now for PNG, I recommend using the nearest neighbor algorithm. It helps to lap the color because it's a pixel texture, and with bilinear or bicubic, you can end up blurring the colors together as they mix together. But in this case, we're just using nearest neighbor. Now make sure to export this in your textures blocks folder, and in this case make sure it's exactly the same as the name of the original block. So I'm using redstone block, so the name is redstone underscore block. If it was cobblestone, you have to call it cobblestone. If you don't call it the correct name, it won't pick up, it won't read it. I'm going to use a little piece of software known as Texture Edit. It was edited by Reddit user worm underscore teeth. It was a quarantine project and designed specifically for Minecraft RTX. It has its own Reddit page called r/texture edit, and there you can get the download link and any instructions or any questions you have. Now, you don't actually have to use this. It's just a simpler way of using it. You can actually stick with your design piece of software and manually create the textures. It will be quite annoying, and you will have to use some extra magicry to combine your metalness, emissiveness, and roughness all together. So I do recommend just using Texture Edit in this case. Now to use Texture Edit, you want to type Control O on your keyboard, and that will open up the File Explorer. There you can open up the texture you want to work on. In this case, for me, redstone block. Now it will show it here. And here you can simply choose your metallicness, roughness, emissiveness, and your height. You can also, in fact, change the color of any texture you want, so that I can add black and whatnot. Now, the metalness or metallic, black represents matte, while white represents reflective, emissive. In this case, black doesn't emit any light, white emits a lot of light. Rough, black is shiny and white is rough. And then the height, black is lower and white is higher. Now, a simple trick is to select your texture and simply copy it over to the height map if you really want to. Here it will automatically grayscale it, and you've already got kind of like this rough normal map. Now, I do recommend you manually go through it, which is what I'm going to do. So in this case, I want the darker bits to be raised. So they're going to be white, they're going to be as high as possible. And all I'm going to do is manually go through and trace over it like this. As you can, since this is a 16 by 16 texture, this is a lot easier than a much higher resolution, 32, 64, or 128. Otherwise, there's more pixels to go over. So the more detailed the texture is, the longer it's going to take for you to go through and essentially edit it. So that is something worth noting. Now, for these darker grey bits, I'm going to set them as black, so they're going to be as low as possible. This is so I can get as much of an effect on the height as I can. I do find that the MER are more effective on photorealistic textures, which I'll cover in a future video. As like with cobblestone, you'll get the light out of it. The slight unevenness, ever so slightly, makes a difference. In this case, the texture resolution is low, and you see it at certain light angles. And there we go. There's our height map done. Simple as that. Now for our missive, I can actually just do on this texture edit called overlay texture, and it overlays the texture. It's not actually there, so I can unclick it and it'll disappear. Now in this case, I don't want it too bright, but I want it a bit bright, so I'm going to have it like around 50% of emissiveness. And I'm just going to go over the inside bit. So I'm actually going to leave this bit black, because then I'll show you how the light will only go on these areas. It will look hopefully rather cool. Do this, nice, and it can be quite a tedious task, especially since there are hundreds of textures now available in Minecraft. So I also recommend you do this sooner or later, because with every update, they're just going to add more and more textures for you to cover. Boom. That's our emissive done in my case. You can actually make non-emissive blocks emissive as well. So if you want to, bear in mind it does not affect gameplay. For the metallicness, I'm actually going to slightly make it a little bit, because redstone is in this case a block. I kind of think it's like more pressed and should be more shiny. So I'm going to overlay the texture, and I'm actually, I'm just going to select the I'm going to do, select all of this, and I'm just going to, make it, there you go, like 50%. And if I unselect back to pen, there you go, grey colour. So texture edit's easy, it works just like that. Roughness, I'm going to have it 50% as well in this case. And just slightly edit. There you go. That's it. That's our MER done. That's how simple it is. Obviously, you can add way more detail into it, but I've just kept it rather simple. It will do the job in this case. Now you just need to export it. Now to export it, you just do Control S, and you just hit save. It will say, do you want to replace this? So it will say it already exists. Do you want to place it? And you click yes. So now when I go into my block folder, and boom, there they are. We've got our redstone underscore block normal, redstone underscore block underscore MER, and then redstone underscore block. Perfect. We've made our texture. Let's give it a go, shall we? Open our world. Okay, it's ray trace. Cool. Redstone block. Here it is. Texture is on it. Okay, cool. Let's just set that. Let's set to time set midnight. Make it nice dark. Oh, the hell? It's not working. Yeah, we've actually got one more step. They've changed it now. You now need to include a JSON file for it to read each different file. Unfortunately, this is a rather tedious task, but it's now necessary. Okay, the final step is to do our texture set. It's a rather simple file. It's just a little bit tedious because you have to do it for every block. Now it's in the same format as a manifest or a JSON file, and it's quite easy. It's pretty much a copy and paste, but I'll type it out anyway. Anyway, we start with curly braces. We declare the format version, and in this case, we're actually going to go with 1.16.100, not 200, because I found that 200 is actually quite buggy for some reason. It will come out as no texture block, and that's not what we want. Next is the Minecraft texture underscore set, and within that, we type in the color which is our texture. In this case, redstone underscore block. You can actually give it a hexadecimal value. If you so wish, it will just be a flat color. Next is the metalness underscore emissive underscore roughness MER. That is a redstone block underscore MER. Next and lastly, normal. And this, as you can guess, our normal map, just known as normal. Now you don't have to put your file extension at the end, so we don't have to do .png, but if you did, it would still work. And all we have to do is save that, and we save this in our blocks folder, along with our redstone block. And we name the file redstone block dot texture underscore set dot JSON. And now it should work. Once again, make sure you update your file in your development resource pack. Just simply copy it all over. Boom, replace the file in destination. That's it, it's been updated. Alright then, let's see if our texture pack works. Played our world. I've already set light. Search the redstone block. There's our texture. Place it on the ground, and boom, there you go. It's working. We've got the emissive light, and as you can see, only on the certain settings that we told it to is it emitting light, and it looks pretty damn good. You can even see the fog effect, so the slight absorption of the fog makes it look, kind of very glowish. Now, if we set it to day as well, boom, you might be able to see the light correctly flagged off. Quite, yeah, not too bad. Not bad at all. Just some closing comments, I'd say. I recommend you start this texture as soon as possible, because with every update, they make more textures for you to have them to update. In Minecraft back in the beta, the textures used to all fit in one single PNG. Now it's each file, and there's so many of them. Another note is the lighting. As you know, glowstone wasn't emitting light unless we told it to, but if we do, it's not actually affecting gameplay. It's still using the traditional Minecraft based lighting. So you could have your lights either too dim and you're thinking that these mobs could spawn there, but they can't because in the actual Minecraft it's bright, or you could have your blocks too bright and you think the land is nice and lit up, but in fact it's darker and so mobs can't spawn. So that's just some things to note. It is quite hard to get balance on if it's for gameplay or for aesthetics. That's just something to note. Obviously, you see we're enjoying a nice view. I'd also greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed for more content. I've got more ray tracing related content, including Minecraft with photorealism using stuff like Quixel or Blender, some stuff relating to bugs. I'm hoping to explore other areas like procedural generation, how Minecraft does it. There's some great things, and I really appreciate your support. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. Create your textures and have fun. See ya.